I love connecting with people and with my partnership with so many people. Darius Stanton had, and you guys know Darius. He's been on our show as well. Uh, Made a connection with a young lady by the name of Lisa Leonard. And she is the executive director of Competitive Edge, EQ. And we had a chance to speak with her and just impressed on all that she's doing because what she is about to share with us, it really talks about what we've been talking here: education,
Yes.
health, entrepreneurship. All of this blends into the conversation that we're going to have with Lisa. So can we bring her in?
Welcome.
There she is.
Welcome.
How are you?
I am fantastic. I am excited to be here. Thank you for creating the space for me to be here. I'm stoked. I'm ready to go. Thank you. Thank you for
That's
having
what I'm
Well,
talking
we are
about.
happy to have you. Happy to have you.
Yes.
I think, Lisa, you can start out by introducing yourself to our people and our audience, and
Sure.
let them know so we can be able to,
Ab-
let folks know what you're about. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, as Peg said, my name is Lisa Leonard. You guys just put a twist on it, and I love the Leonard. It sounds great. It has a roll off your tongue. That's really nice. So I am the executive director for Competitive Edge EQ. We are a local nonprofit that supports student athletes in the DMV area. We plant our feet in the emotional intelligence space, primarily because we believe that when student athletes have a sense of their emotions, they're able to navigate the world a little bit differently. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. But before we go into our conversation, I want to couch our conversation in making a quick distinction. And that is that emotional intelligence or emotional wellness is a component of mental health, our mental wellness.
Yes.
It is not mental health or mental wellness deals more with the cognitive space. We deal more with the emotional space, helping young people to navigate that space in a way that's beneficial to them. So I just want to make a quick distinction, not to get too deep in the weeds in the distinction, but in that emotional wellness is a component of mental wellness. When you're emotionally well, emotionally sound, when you have EQ skills, you're able to navigate the mental space better.
Okay. Wonderful.
Wow. Could you tell us, elaborate a little bit more about EQ, emotional intelligence?
Sure. So, and I'll again couch it in the work that we do with student athletes. It's important for student athletes to have a sense of fluency, agency, expression, resilience, agility of their emotions. And so and safety, right? And so when we think about the experience of a student athlete, in particular, they have a slightly different experience than those non-athletes. And so one of the reasons why we focus specifically in that area is because of their unique experience. So when I think about agency, building student athletes agency, we're talking about what they have agency over in terms of what they can't control. In the athletic space, there are things that you can control, but then there are things that are out of your control. So being able to build their capacity and their skill set to have agency over the things that they can control, like the amount of practice that you endure, or you pursue, the amount of time you decide to shoot your shots or throw the football, or focusing on your strength and agility, or focusing on your skill set. Those are things that's within the confines of what you have agency over. You can put in the time, the effort, and so forth. You also have agency over the amount of time you decide to study and how you perform academically. Well, if you put enough time in your studying, then you can perform at a higher level. You have agency over that. Some things that you don't have agency over is, playing time. You don't have agency over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you deal with that emotion that arises when you think you should be on the floor, but you're on the bench? You think you should be on the field, but you're on the sideline. How do you deal with that emotion? Because that in itself comes from several different spaces. It could be the pressure of your parent, the pressure of your peers, and so forth. One thing that we focus specifically on in terms of emotion is that you do have agency in terms of how you feel and how you manage the emotion. So of course, the anger may rise up that I'm not playing. Well, I think I'm good enough. And why isn't my coach playing me? And I'm going to have to hear my parents' mouth in the car because I still didn't get enough time. Or when I got in the game, I really didn't do what I was supposed to do. So I'm going to have to hear their mouth again too, right? Well, you do have, one, we increase their awareness of what I'm feeling right in this moment. And now how do I process it? You don't have agency over your parents. Your parents are going to be your parents. That's the bottom line, right? But you do have agency over how I manage this feeling of disappointment, this feeling of anger, this feeling of frustration. How do I manage it in a way that I get the best result for myself? And so when we talk about agency and EQ, that's one space we focus specifically on. The other thing is that, and this kind of connects with parents, do I have the safety to communicate my feelings, right? I'm from old school, so my parents did allow me some agency, just a little bit of agency, but that we couldn't talk back, we couldn't express ourselves in a way that the way that was in our head, and so we had to find a creative way to express ourselves. So that's the other place. We want to create the safety net with parents and student athletes so that they feel safe enough to say, this is disturbing me. This is concerning me. Hey, Mom, I really want to unpack this with you. Of course, a child probably wouldn't use the term unpack, but I really want to discuss this with you. And so that's what we talk. That's one important area and why we kind of include the entire family to some extent in our experience. So it's really, EQ is really learning how to manage your emotions in a way that works to your benefit. That's at the lower level, 7th through 12th grade is who we work with. So that's at the lower level. And then as they continue to build their emotional capacity, their EQ, then they show up differently even in the world as they traverse from middle school to high school, on to college, on to careers. So that's it in the short and skinny.
So speaking of the young people, and you just expressed definitely how important of these areas are. Can you tell us again the importance of helping the young people understand how to communicate their true feelings? I think you were getting into that, but they have true feelings. They do have feelings, but we have to know how to handle that. How do you handle that?
So one of the reasons I think it's important to teach young people, student athletes, I'm going to say young people, but that's to include every single child, the student athletes that we work with, but surely every child could benefit from EQ training. When we think about being able to communicate our feelings, then we want to build their capacity to be able to articulate what it is they're feeling. They need that safe space that I was talking about. But one of the things that I found, and this is why I plant my feet also in this space, is that our young people lack the emotional vocabulary.
Yeah.
That part is really, really important. How having the vocabulary to communicate how I'm feeling is equally as important as having agency. So there's one thing to have agency, but the other part that needs to be in line with having agency or the ability to advocate for yourself is also having the vocabulary to be able to describe what it is you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's extremely important, and that links to our their ability to communicate at a high level. So that's one part we do focus on in our ACL program. We focus on communication. The ACL stands for adaptability, communication, and leadership development. And so in that communication phase, they do work on public speaking, all of those types of things. But it is rooted, our programming is rooted in the emotional intelligence space so that they are able to communicate or show up in a room where they know absolutely no one, but they're able to show up with such a boldness and empowered to take up the space in a way that works to their benefit.
So
Awesome.
you do this work, and apparently you do it for schools and teams and parents, but you have an organization that's actually helping thousands of kids, or I know you plan to help thousands of kids with this. Like, so how do parents get in contact with you, and can any kid participate? How do they contact you, and what are the premises in which they should be saying, okay, I need this kind of help?
Yeah, sure.
Help me.
So we have two prongs, so to speak, community-based as well as school-based. We are currently, and so I will put this plug out there, we are currently looking for a school home. So our first EQ school we are looking for. And what does that mean for the school? It means that we come in and work specifically with their athletic population or their sports population for the purpose of, it's a great benefit to the school. It helps to create and shape the culture of the school and so forth. So that's one arm that we work with. Those kids that I said I would stop using kids, those young people that are in the school, they benefit from our ACL program from 9th through 12th, and then we want to watch them from freshman through senior year in college. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing the fundraiser that we'll talk about. The other component is our community-based component. And so we work with AAU programs, football programs, volleyball programs. We did a full retreat, weekend retreat with a basketball program in which we worked with, we did a full wraparound service. We worked with the student athletes around developing their emotional intelligence. But then we brought the coaches in because I think it's critical for coaches to understand how emotional intelligence, they deal with the emotion every day, but understand it at a deeper level, what it means for them as coaches to be transformational rather than transactional. That's a whole nother show, but we work with the coaches and then we work with the parents. And so the community aspect is one that I really enjoy, in that it's easy for me to structure programming that incorporates the entire family. The truth is, you cannot do emotional intelligence work or EQ building without also impacting the entire nucleus of the family.
Yeah, I feel, what you said is so strong, because they look at their coaches, and coaches are all about winning. And, sometimes I believe that
the emotionally they don't understand what's going on in that student's or that young adult's head. He wants to win too, but he's always questioning, or she's always questioning themselves. So I think it's so important to understand that the coaches understand,
Yes.
because it takes the weight off of the student to be so perfect. You just gotta, we want to win a game, but we want to win it safely. We want to win it honestly, and we want to look good by doing it.
But Linda, I will also add to that, because there's a lot of stakes in winning, right?
Yeah,
So we focus solely on the win.
right.
A large portion of us focus solely on the win, but there are incredible lessons in the loss, right?
Yes, that's so
It's
true.
by improving my skill set, right?
Mhm.
But you kind of spoke to the idea of transactional versus transformational coaches.
Mhm.
And when you are a transformational coach, you make the space, you create the space to take care of the whole child. You're curious about their emotional well-being, how they're processing. You're curious about their learning, right? So why is learning important in the coaches space? Because coaches every single day in practice are yelling or repeating the
Right.
same thing. Johnny, go do this. Johnny, I told you to do this. Johnny, take a lap. And Johnny comes back and does the exact same thing all over again, right? But why is Johnny doing the exact same thing all over again? This is a part of our programming. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say two things. One, for Johnny, we create the opportunity for them to understand, or him to, in this instance, to understand his learning style. So when you understand a child's learning style, then you have a different approach as a coach. You have a different approach as a parent, because now I understand that my child is tactile, right? That's how they learn. So instead of yelling at Johnny, now you're helping him to get involved in the process, to touch, feel, and do, so that he learns. Johnny is not doing what you want him to do just because he just want to be defiant. He is equally as frustrated. So now he has to deal with that emotion.
He doesn't know why. Right.
And he doesn't know why
Right.
he's feeling that way. But when we talk about that transformational coaching and the responsibility of the parent, then I need to know as a parent how my child learns, right? I need to know, and a coach needs to know if they're interested. If they're interested in transforming, they need to know how every kid or every young person on their team learns. That alleviates the frustration from the athlete. It alleviates the frustration from the coach. And now there is this perfect dance that's happening on the floor, because I know how to connect with Johnny. I know what Johnny needs from me as much as Johnny knows what I need from him. And we have to think about the partnership in that kind of way. So transformational coaching is incredibly important.
That's important. Yes.
Wow, this is interesting. Peggy, what are you going to say?
Yeah, Lisa, take a moment and share the importance of teaching our young people how to advocate for themselves.
Oh my goodness. So as a former educator, one of the things that was important to me was to ensure that young people are operating from a position of power. And I don't mean disrupting a classroom setting. I don't mean trying to assert what they perceive as authority to adults in the space. So when I use the term power, that's not what I mean. Because if you're emotionally well, if you have the skill set to communicate what you're feeling, then you show up from another disposition, right? So your perceptual stance is very different. And I don't want to get too caught in the weeds about what that is. But when young people are able to function from a space of power, that means they understand their learning style. then I can have a different conversation and relationship with my teacher. So even if a teacher is doing a lesson and you don't get it, little Johnny, stand with Johnny, because it's literally say, listen again, Miss Lisa, I appreciate how you communicated the lesson on molecules, but I'm a tactile learner. Can we do something else to help me to understand this concept a little differently? As an instructor, I may pull out some marshmallows and some toothpicks, and now we're in a lesson around, molecules or whatever. So it allows young people to take up the education or academic space very differently, so that they're active participants in their education. They're not passive. Most times young people are having a passive experience. And so we've had this push in education to do group work and so forth, small grouping, pair sharing, and all of these things. But again, young people have to know how they learn, and so that they can advocate for themselves. That also is in line with the communication piece. Young people don't want to go and have conversations because they don't know how to communicate. But when they learn how to communicate, then they're able to build relationships in the academic space with their teachers, administrators, and so forth in a very different way. And the last thing I'm going to say about that specifically in terms of power in student athletes, when you know how you learn, when you know how to communicate, when you know how you're feeling through the process, when you get to that point, if you're lucky enough to get to that point of the recruiting process, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, cheering, whatever it is, then you show up even in front of the coaches who are recruiting you differently. Because now I know what I want. I don't just want to be a basketball player. I want to be a doctor. And that allows a different kind of conversation for yourself as well as for the person who or the school that's recruiting you. If they don't have the things that you're pursuing, then that again changes the conversation. So I'm gonna stop right there because this is my passion.
Yeah, we can tell you're very passionate about it. We have about 2 minutes with you
Sure.
left, but can you talk about the STEM program, how the students and athletes should know about the STEM and what that is?
So sure, that wraps up into, all the work that we do on the front end. We believe that student athletes, if they are exposed to STEM careers, then they have, and we chose STEM because as a community, we're slightly behind in this space. So we chose STEM specifically because we want student athletes to know, listen, everybody is not going to be a professional.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But that does not mean that you cannot be around the sport. So every career that's outside of sport is also inside of sport. And so STEM is that space. STEM or sports-related STEM careers is what we create space to expose our young people to, so that they can think about beyond the sport. Once they've let it go, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And that's the question that they should lead with when we talk about developing their plan B. Yes, I am an athlete, but I'm a student first. And there's life after sport. Mm-hmm. What do I want to do with the rest of my life is the leading question.
I have one last one for you. I know that you're planning to transform 1,000 kids' life, but you can't do that alone. Sure. And you're having a major event that we need to definitely share out there that's going to be happening on June the 10th.
Yes.
And it's going to be casino style, so I'm really super excited about that, guys. Gatsby, I call her Gatsby. Also, sorry, but tell them about that. Her goal.
I think you have a flyer on that, Charlene. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, there we go. So
sure.
Competitive Edge, and I want her to talk about that because we're going to raise $50,000 because her goal is to transfer 1,000 kids' lives into helping them to understand who they are and how to communicate, be self-aware of who they are and how to communicate what they need from their coaches to their parents and to the parents also. So yes, over to you.
So Monte Carlo night is this is our second annual Monte Carlo night. It is the biggest fundraiser that we do through the course of the year. And so it's going to be phenomenal. Marcus Johnson is leading that evening, but just like you see, that is an actual picture from last Monte Carlo. It's literally set up like the MGM. It's a fun night. So if you are into, I need to qualify this when we talk about casino or gambling. It is fun money. It is not gambling in the Woodmore. So everyone gets fun money just to have a good time, dance a bit, listen to Marcus Johnson. If cigars are your thing, shameless plug, the Tinderbox of Waldorf was one that sponsored our cigar lounge. And so if that's the thing that you're into, then the cigar lounge will be available to you. Of course, craps, blackjack, roulette, if you're interested in those. Marcus is bringing on his Flow Wine. So if you've never experienced Flow Wine, this is the night that you need to experience the Flow Wine. It tastes incredible. And so it's going to be a fun night. We partnered with Hogo, that's Heels Off, Gloves On, another youth organization that focused specifically on raising funds for our youth boxers in the area. So it's going to be just an amazing time. We need you there. The promo code, of course, is Fast Break Friday, but it's still live. And so definitely you could literally go to our website that is CompEdEQ, CompEdEQ.org. Click on events. Click on the link to purchase your ticket. Make sure you use Fast Break Friday for a nice little discount, and we'll see you there. If you are a former athlete, you have an athlete, you're the parent of an athlete, you're suffering from those aches and pains from being a athlete at our age, whatever whatever tickles your fancy, we need you in the place. We cannot do this work without the support of the community. And so we have to do something other than cheering in the stands.
Yeah.
We have to kind of get on the ground and create opportunity for our young people. And you can do that by attending Monte Carlo Night 2023.
So you have a direct phone number. Did you care to put that out?
Sure. I am totally open. So certainly anyone who is interested in programming, absolutely, you can reach me at 301-807-4729. And again, that's 301-807-4729. You also can reach me. My email is very simple, lisa.leonard@compedeq.org. So CompEdEQ.org. And I'm fully accessible for programming, tickets, partnerships. We cannot do this work alone, so we can't be afraid to create partnerships in our community for the heavy lift. It's too much at stake. Our kids need us.
Yes.
Well, we thank you so
Wow,
much
Lisa.
for expressing all of this wonderful information that is so needed. I think people get this every day, of course, but it is really needed.
And we have to support our students.
And we need to support our students. This is the year of our students graduating. We want to salute all of those graduates of 2023 anyway. A lot of them have worked hard. A lot of the parents have worked hard. And we are the community that should continue to support our young people for whatever they want to do in life. And this is one of the things we know a lot of the kids, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football player. You know, they want to be in sports, but it's a lot to it.
Yes.
I think you're educating us on that.
We have to teach them also to have a plan B.
And they also talk about, and we're going to bring you back again to talk about.
She's got to come back.
Because it's so much.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you creating this space.
Yes. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great one. We'll see you again soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is awesome.
Yeah. It's so needed. This is so
really
needed.
Ooh.
Students. So,
And talking about our young people.
Yeah.
Because they need to know these things, because all they know is I want to play sports.
I want to win. I want the money.
But that's what they really want.
That's what they
At the end of
really
the day.
Right.
That's what all of their parents and family want them to, but
and,
we've
right.
seen
And
so
they
much
just
happen.
right. And they have to understand that they also are working for somebody else too. So that's
Yes,
what they plan
exactly.
B. They have a plan to work for themselves.
Themselves.
That's the most
That's
important
true.
thing our
Yeah,
students need to know. It's not
that is
about
true.
them. It's about you, and you have to have a plan for yourself because they already have the plan.